You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's the most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. I'm your host, Samson, Lardy, Anyenini. And I dedicate Samson's take to the protesters. And last night, these were their final comments.
I've carried and I've brought on several materials which are intended to help with teaching, the teaching aids that we're going to be using. That's what the protest is about. That is an opportunity to also educate people on their rights in a democracy. Some of this job the NCC is supposed to be doing. One Lardy, who was one of the loudest voices and critics of the government, was always on the streets, now has that institution and have made useless out of it. The continuous politicization of institutions that are supposed to uplift us is what we are deploring. So we were taking upon that charge ourselves and we're going to be doing the work.
How were you handled yesterday?
Well, beyond the arrest and the violent nature of the arrest, the slaps and other things, the one I am taking particular offense is that all of us were taken to the Greater Accra Regional Command, put into a room, and 17 individuals, plainclothes individuals, who were wearing all kinds of earrings, who had dyed their hair in all kinds of different manners. Others dressed in shorts, in boxer shorts, were thrown into the room and locked on us, and they proceeded to beat us. I do not understand how these individuals who were calling themselves intelligence officers were brought in to beat us. That has to be explained to me. So all the PR and all the crying before committees of parliament, that PR that sustained the police service, we must break that PR down. And for me, this is one of the things I have to say. The Ghana Police Service is less than 40,000 men across board. And these 40,000 people go to training. We train them at public expense. If we cannot ensure discipline with 40,000 people, we have failed the entire country. That is where leadership must be shown at. And this is what we are asking for.
You said earlier on, you said Dapaah said over his dead body, would you be allowed to protest in the country?
Yes, Ken Dapaah, who is Minister of National Security, has made it clear to me that over his dead body, we're going to be allowed to protest. And it's not surprising to me that a few months later, I was charged and tried for treason. I think that this government has every intention, and they mean their words, that they are going to depress and going to make sure that they make an example out of me. We are going to continue to fight, and whatever they want to do, they can continue to do it. But we must show up, because when abuse of power is loudest, citizens must speak up even more. That's why we are here.
And they went as far as offering you $1 million to back down.
They went as far as offering us $1 million. They offered us a committee, to set up a committee and appoint us to government positions in order to stop this activism. This was made directly to me and other leaders of Fix the Country. This will be refused. Now, this conversation was had at the time with the National Minister of National Security, the Minister of Finance, and a Brigadier General of the Ghana Armed Forces at the Safe House cantonment. These are information that are verifiable. We recorded that conversation. If people recall,
do you say those are the people who are making the offer?
The people who made the offer on that day. If people will recall, when I came out of jail, I had made an announcement that I was going to disclose the details of the secret meeting that had taken place and some of the things that were said to us. And later I had received several calls from people in this country and refused to disclose those. This information is not something I'm lying about. I can release to you information and calls that the Minister of National Security himself called me while I was in the UK, inviting me to come down to Ghana and at public expense. And I rejected it and paid for my own ticket and flew down to Ghana. And so for me, I know and I've always known that, and there's nothing that I'm saying here that will surprise anybody or shock anybody, that we know that they have taken every kind of attempt through monetary compulsions, through violence in order to stop what we are doing. But we'll continue to build, and we are demanding that if citizens really cherish this democracy and are interested in the future of this country, then they will show up and stare down power. Today has been one of the most important days in my life. Today we have written ourselves into the annals of the history of this country. By our resolve, by our determination, we have shown that when power backs, we respond in equal measure. We have shown that when the powers that be intend to abuse powers to corrupt our democracy, we, the civic people of this country, the right-thinking members of our society, and young people who believe that saving our democracy is important for tomorrow's generation, we've shown up. You've showed up and you've shown your faith in the process of what it means to build a true democratic culture. And I want to thank all those who came with us from the morning, was here from 6 a.m. Those who left are rested at home and watching us today. And those who came later on in the evening to replenish our ranks. I want to particularly thank the women for showing up, women for sending the message that women protest too. You've shown that the destiny of this future cannot be written with your role, without your roles being inscribed in gold. And I want to thank you for your sense of duty, your continuous mobilization to make this an effort. To the lawyers who mobilized themselves yesterday in order to ensure that the powers of tyranny would not have their day. We are grateful for your vigilance in ensuring that our democracy stays alive. For all the people on social media who have mobilized resources to continue to feed protesters, to provide them water, without your mobilization, without your efforts in ensuring that this works, we would not have achieved the success we've achieved today. I tell you what, we are not yet there. The battle to win back the soul of this country, to ensure that the path of moral decay that our leaders have put this country on, we are arresting it. And I promise you that a new Ghana beckons. I promise you from the countrysides of this country, from the farms and the riversides, that a new spirit is awakening in the young Ghanaian. Yes. They believe that tomorrow will be different. Yes. They believe that tomorrow will be more generous. Yes. Tomorrow will be more empathetic. Yes. We have the faith that we can build a new culture that is empathetic and built on the pillars of freedom and justice. Yes. I assure you, at the end of this path, there are blessings of prosperity and liberty. Liberty that the founding generation promised us. But we must not relent, because the forces that seek the downfall of this republic are alive and well. Yeah. They control the institutions of government. They control the courts, they control the police force, they control the military. But they cannot control the streets. Yes. We are showing them that when every institution in this country is captured and co-opted and has lost its voice, the streets will speak loud and louder than any point in time. We want to also thank our ancestors for opening up the skies today. Yes. That they have shown us by the rains that they endorse our march, that they endorse our advocacy for a different Ghana. A Ghana that is generous to tomorrow's generation. Now, today again I am reminded of my own frailty as a human, that I may not go all the long path with you, that freedom will not come maybe in my lifetime, that I may die young, but I promise you, we are lighting a path to tomorrow. We are lighting a path that others will carry on. And this is the true faith of what we have done. We have achieved something that people before us could not achieve. I tell you what we are doing today is a little too late for you and I. This is a battle that our fathers should have fought for us, but it's too late for us. But what we are doing is ensuring that tomorrow's generation do not suffer what we have suffered. That is important. That is important to build a culture that is respectful and recognizing that every culture that sustains itself must anticipate that old men will build trees, the shadows of which they know they would never sit. Now, I want to use this opportunity as well to remind you of that we are continuing tomorrow. This was a 3-day protest that's never happened in our republic before. Tomorrow we are showing up again. And we are marching to Julobi House. That is the purpose and intendment and end point of our demonstration.
Oliver Barker-Vomawo is lead convener of the demonstration that was scuttled on the first day, but on the second day, yesterday, they were able to proceed, and they say today they are continuing right about this time. In the course of this show, we should be able to speak with them briefly, and as you have seen, done by Joy News throughout the week. No, since Thursday, our cameras will still be there. Let me introduce my guests, and then we get to the issues that we are canvassing for you this morning. Inusa Foseni is lawyer, former MP Tamale Central, and former Minister Roads and Highways. On this occasion, he's one of the lawyers that Oliver Barker-Vomawo was commending and thanking for coming to their rescue. Gary Nemakomafu is lawyer He's Director, Legal Affairs of the New Patriotic Party. Enam Akote, a Sustainability, Climate and Social Innovation Advisor. Daniel Yao Domelevo is former Auditor General of the Republic of Ghana. Oliver Bakafomawo, as I said, he is community mobilizer with Fix the Country, and the demonstration presently is being organized by Democracy Hub with partners. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much for making time to join us on Newsfile.
Good morning. Good morning to my friend.
Good morning, Honorable.
Right.
You know what?
Yeah.
So we go for a quick break and return to have my guests speak to the issues. And this morning, here's my approach. And for all our guests who are joining us, if you are not pre-informed, you have 10 minutes to take the issues by yourself and decide how you address them. Don't expect a question from me. So the issue of the demonstrations, you know how you want to discuss it. I may only intervene if there are factual issues that need some correction, or maybe a legal issue I have a point to. And then once you're done with your 10 minutes, I will stop you if you try to do more than that. Once you're done with your 10 minutes, within 5 minutes, I may ask you some questions, and then you respond to. That's how we go about it. All the two issues, this is how we'll tackle it, because my views are known on them, and I don't want to influence your views. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. So I'll begin with Gary. How do you assess what has happened, the protesters and the police, in this kind of entanglement?
Good morning to your cherry viewers. Good morning to my senior brother, whom I so much cherish, Honorable Husseini. This morning you're looking very nice in your apparel.
I'm going for a birthday celebration.
Samson, let us proceed with these matters with very calm heads. Very calm heads. You are informed that on 4th September 2023, the police received a notice of intent to demonstrate. This was to the effect that on 23rd and to 23rd September, there were demonstrations. And we are informed that the venue of the demonstration was disagreed between the police and the demonstrators. Now, the police filed a motion to prohibit the demonstrator from going ahead with the demonstration, which motion was duly served on the protesters. In fact, I've seen a proof of service which shows that a lady received the service on behalf of the demonstrators. That notwithstanding,
the law firm.
Yes, on the law firm, yes. That notwithstanding, we are told that they went ahead with the demonstration, which earlier on was scattered by the police. Now, let us understand certain things. I think every society is regulated by law. That is the reason why we just don't get up to go and demonstrate. Yes, it is correct, legally correct. Now, Article 21 of the Constitution makes it very clear that the right to demonstrate is enshrined in the Constitution. And if I permit me, I will just read for our listeners to listen. Article 21, fundamental human rights. All persons shall have the right to, and D, freedom of assembly, including freedom to take part in processions and demonstrations. So yes, it is guaranteed. I agree with that point entirely. But let's not forget that this right or this freedom to demonstrate is not exclusive. There are clear body of laws regulating how it should be done. That is why a Public Order Act is there, 1984. It tells you how you should exercise this kind of rights. If you want to demonstrate, you have to notify the police in writing. Permit me, I also go to the law, so our listeners also listen to this one. Now, if you look at the long title of the Act, Act 491, it says an act to prohibit, to provide for the maintenance of public order.
It's titled Public Order Act.
Yes, and then the long title is here. An act to provide for the maintenance of public order and for related matters and purpose. It means that when you are demonstrating, obviously you are going to also deny others from also enjoying their right to movement and other things. Safety, security is all part of it. Now, look at Section 1 of the Act. A person who desires to hold a special event in a public place shall, and is mandatory, notify the police of that intention not less than 5 days for the date of the special event. That is one. Now, 2, we notify that you must indicate the place you are going to do it, the nature of the special event, the time of commencement, the route you are going to use, the destination, and the proposed time and closure of the event. And in that instance, demonstration is part of what? Special events. Now, why there's a disagreement between you and the police? This is what the police must do. That is the form. Why a police officer notified of a special event under Section 1 has reasonable grounds, reasonable grounds, to believe that a special event, if held, may lead to violence and or endanger public defense, public order, public safety, public health, or essential services, or violate the rights of and freedom of any other person. The police officer may request the organizer to postpone the special event to any other date or to relocate the special event. Now, here's the case where the police are disagreeing with the organizers on the venue, i.e., the Jubilee House. It is a security zone. And they don't agree with that event. Then they can go and do the event any other place other than that venue. And the organizers decide that they will not agree. Then they go to court to get an application to prohibit the holding of the special event on that particular day. And yet, though they are served with the application, they proceed to go on with the demonstration. I think that these are the areas that I think is a problem with it. Insofar as the law allows you to go and do, go and hold demonstrations. At the same time, you must also know that there are body of laws regulate how it should be done. I will not sit here to say that, well, anybody has been manhandled or whatever, and so I'm endorsing it. No. My concern is that the organizers also ought to respect the law. They ought to respect the law, because I don't understand why, if an application has been served on you seeking to halt a certain activity, you proceed to go on with the activity. That's my difficulty. That's my difficulty. I mean, if anybody says that, well, the police has manhandled anybody, I think then they ought to have lodged the police a complaint. My check so far reveals that no complaint has been lodged by anybody in any police station that he has been manhandled. So far, that's my checks have been revealed that. If anybody has a contrary intention or a contrary view on the matter, I think they can tell Ghanaians. So I'm saying, I think that in a society such as ours, Ghana, where we are all agreed that we will let the rule of law guide our affairs, we should ensure that the law is respected. Yes, you can go to demonstrations. Yes, you can hold public events, special events, whatever it is. But at the same time, you should not, go ahead and do it when the police say they have an application to injunct what you are going to do, and yet you proceed to go and do it. That is my difficulty with the organizers. And I think that when the proof of service is there, let them come and say that they were not served. But the proof of service is here, and I've seen it. And the lady whose name appears on it, let them say the lady doesn't work in the law firm. And we all know that when your clerk or your secretary is served in your chambers, it's as good as the service being fed on you personally. So there are several times you go to court and a process has been served on your clerk, your secretary. Maybe you're not even aware. The court look at the proof of service and say, look, do you know this person? He said in your chamber. He said, yes, he has been served. Or she has been served. And that service is good as service on you. So my difficulty is with the way they ignore the service and went ahead with the demonstration. That's my difficulty. But if anybody says that he has been arrested and manhandled by the police or whatever it is, I think that person ought to have lodged a complaint with the police. But my check so far reveals us nobody has lodged any complaint with the police that he has been manhandled or more or less beaten so far. These are my checks so far.
Okay. You have actually not exhausted your 10 minutes, but I can proceed to ask you questions.
Go ahead.
Right. So you say your problem with the organizers is that they ought to have respected the law.
Yes.
Which law do you say they broke?
the Public Order Act.
Which provision of the Public Order Act?
I just cited the 4 to you.
Right.
Cited the 4 to you, where the police have reasonable grounds to believe what they should do. In this instance, the police decided to go to court.
Right.
To hold the holding of the special event.
That is so.
A motion is pending to prohibit the holding of the event. It has been served on you or through your office. And then you decide to ignore the service and go ahead to the streets. That is service wrong. Because
that is a violation of law.
Yes.
Which law?
I'm telling you, look, let me give you my law.
Which law is violated?
I've given you section 1.
No, the question is direct. That you have been served with a pending application for injunction. And this is here, we are taking for granted that they have in fact been served.
Yes.
They deny they have been served. The police issue a statement and say their lawyers were served. They deny that their lawyers have been served. You have seen the affidavit of service, okay? I have seen that affidavit of service also. It says that the bailiff, one John Ando, took the process to Atuguba and Associate and gave it to a certain lady, as you mentioned. But they insist that that said lady says he doesn't know about it. But I'm saying, let's take for granted law that, in fact, they have been served and proper service has been effected. What law have they broken by going ahead when the injunction is pending?
You are now aware. The one that there's a motion is pending to prohibit the doing of an act. You cannot go ahead once you are served. You cannot go ahead.
I will never advise my clients that if they are served with an application for injunction on notice, they should go ahead without waiting for that application to be determined.
Exactly.
I will never advise. But my question is, you say they have violated the law. What law have they violated?
Is it not contempt?
Contempt.
Is it not contempt?
Okay.
Is it not contempt that an application is pending? Wait.
Who punishes contempt and how?
It's the court, of course.
Okay.
You have to take an application to the court.
So number one.
Indicate to the court that, yes, a matter is pending before you, yet to be determined. But they have gone ahead to proceed to do the very thing you are seeking to injunct them to do.
Correct.
And so, therefore, the court ought to punish them for contempt.
Correct. So, number one, no law has been broken. And no criminal law has been broken, correct? There's been no offense.
No law has been broken. That's why I have a difficulty with you. Why would the court punish for contempt if the very act you are seeking to injunct, you still proceed to go on with the same act, and the court will punish you?
Okay.
It's because the law has been broken.
Are you saying
yes,
that if you and Honorable Yunusa Hussaini have a dispute over your land,
yes,
and you file an injunction process and you serve it on Inusa, and Inusa continues to develop the land whilst the application has not been heard, police can arrest him?
Well, I'm not saying they can arrest him. That is a civil contempt. I mean, I'm not saying police can arrest him.
They can't, correct?
They cannot arrest him.
Good.
How would they arrest him? I have to move the court with an application for contempt. Now, my Lord, while this application is pending before you for injunction to stop him from doing the very act I am saying he should not continue doing, he is still doing it. And so, therefore, commit for contempt. And the court will now examine the facts of the matter, the evidence on the affidavit, if it is shown that at the time when I filed the application, the law was like that. And yet now you have gone ahead to build substantial structure on the land to show that in fact and indeed what I'm saying is true, then contempt will lie against you.
Okay.
Because the very act I'm seeking to stop from doing, you are doing it in clear violation of the pending application.
Okay. So if the police went to court, you expect that they will follow the law just like you and I, we are under the law. They are also under the law, correct?
That is correct.
So why do they choose that some wrong has been done and they must punish and not the court?
When you say they must punish, you mean by going there to arrest them?
Exactly.
Is that what you say they must punish?
Arresting them, detaining them, and charging them with unlawful assembly.
Well, I think that matter, clearly they were trying to more or less enforce the law by themselves.
Okay.
That is the way I will see it, that you enforce the law by themselves. But the fact of the matter is that flip the coin. Flip the coin. The organizers involved in the demonstration themselves, Some of them are lawyers.
That's right.
Okay? And they know very well that when you are served with the process to prohibit the doing of a certain act, and then a phone call is placed that don't accept the service, and then they go ahead to go and do the very act you're seeking to prohibit, they know they were wrong. They know
Okay,
they
so
were wrong.
wrong is not crime. I want us to educate our people. And because millions of people are watching this show and are listening, so I want us to help them to get the legal parameters correct.
Right.
There is somebody who has filed, or people have filed processes against the Electoral Commission, against the ongoing voter registration. And they have served injunction applications. The EC chair has admitted that they have been served. They are going on. Are you saying police should be arresting the EC and its officers?
No. It is the applicant. The applicant in the enrollment process who has to file the relevant process before a court to alert the court that something probably is going on that maybe ought not to go on.
Right.
It's a different ballgame altogether.
Okay.
It's not for the police
So,
to go.
so the court,
yes.
so the court will punish, potentially, the court will punish through a contempt proceeding. The court will punish
That
the
is, if we
EC.
can show.
Yes.
That is, if we can show, and let's be,
That's
if we can
potentially.
show, if we can show that yes, you have indeed served the process on the EC.
Correct.
You have served the process on the actual person who.
Yeah, the EC admits that they have been served.
I have not heard that.
No, publicly.
They have said
They organized a
been
press
served.
conference. Said
They have been served. That's
Yeah.
a different matter. I have not heard that they have been served.
They have been served.
But
They have
if
served.
you can show that you actually serve them personally, and they receive the process, and yet, despite the pendency of your application, they are doing the very thing that they shouldn't be doing, then the court will examine the matter and deal with it.
Okay.
But my contention.
My question to you is that the EC is going ahead.
We are dealing
It
with.
has
We are,
not-
we are dealing
No,
with.
we are using a live
Why
case.
you bringing
We want to
this
use a
matter
live
here?
case to educate the people. And my question is that the EC has not committed any criminal offense. Have they?
Not that I'm aware of. But
Good.
what time is quasi criminal?
I get that.
What time is quasi criminal?
It's civil.
It's not criminal.
Yeah, it's a civil process. No,
Yes.
the question is that you have answered it. They have not committed a criminal offense. Their lawyers may have advised them that go ahead, correct? Even though you have been served. Their lawyers can advise them that go ahead, right? I say, me as a lawyer, I will never advise my client that if you have an injunction process,
I
go
will
ahead.
sit here and say their lawyers may have advised them. But I don't know the advice the lawyer probably will give them in chambers.
Okay.
So I cannot sit here and say their lawyers may have advised them to go ahead or not go
So
ahead.
if they are cited for contempt, it is for the court to determine that they have acted wrongly.
Yes, so
If the court determines that they have acted wrongly, then the court will punish them, correct?
that is so.
It's not police that will punish them.
No. It's a court.
And the court will punish them for what?
For violating, a pending application which was before for contempt. That is all.
Thank you very much. I've actually exhausted my extra 5 minutes to question you. Yes, let's begin. But I was going to deal with the question of the service, whether it's proper or it's not. We'll come to the more important other issues rather than bury all of
But
this
you have seen the proof of service, right?
Yes, I've seen it.
The proof of service.
Served on their lawyers. So it says. Correct.
Good.
So, Inusa, let's hear you also have your analysis.
So on Thursday morning, I was driving home from a program I had on the sister TV station when I heard that a group of young men who had come out to demonstrate against the government had been arrested and sent to the police station. I didn't know the police station, so I had some stirring in me, and I was emotionally drawn to their plight. So I moved towards the police headquarters. And when I got there, they told me that they had not received any demonstrators at the police station, and so I should check. They directed me to another office. On my way there, I called somebody, in fact, Edoji Tamaklo, who said, "Oh no, they are not at the headquarters, they are at the Greater Accra Regional Command," and also gave me the number of one of the demonstrators. So I called, and he confirmed that they were at the head office. I went there. Now my issue simply is this: the Public Order Act is a 10-section act. It's a very small act. Now read the whole act. Offences under the act have been provided. a person who commits an offense under the Act has been provided. The power of the police to arrest without warrant has been provided. So in any other offense under the Act, it must be on notice. You must issue a criminal summons. The only time that the police have the power to arrest without warrant, it has been provided. Now, so I felt that what the police had done, arresting the people without a warrant, clearly was unlawful. Now, why is the Public Order Act designed in that way? Sparse, not extensive. Because there is a deep recognition and appreciation that you are trying to enforce the enjoyment of a constitutional right as part of the Chapter 5 rights of the Constitution. And so if you put too much fetters, you might be unwittingly clawing back that right that is provided in the Constitution. So the basic thing one asks, so when I got there, I asked them, well, have the police, did you notify the police? They said yes. Did you indicate the route? They said yes. Did they suggest a postponement or an alternative route? They said no. They said no. Even though I've since seen facts that they say that the police have issued that they met them. But they said no, they didn't. They said, so you have not, there is no compliance. They have not complied with Section 3 of the Act. They've not requested of you to change your route. They said no. It's okay.
Really?
And so if they have not done that, and you have not, because they have not done that, you didn't have even the opportunity to refuse to signify your unwillingness to conform with their request to change your route. So, because they didn't. So you see, then I then questioned the motion, the application for an injunction. When you read section 1, subsection 5 of the Act, subsection 5 of the Act, or 6, where the organizer refuses, and the organizer includes organizers, where the organizer refuses to comply with the request under subsection 4, which is to change a route or fails to notify the police in accordance with subsection 5, the police may apply. So there are clear conditions precedent. This reading simply tells you that the police have no power or authority to go to court for an application to prohibit a demonstration if they have not exhausted the remedies in 4 and 5.
Yeah, so, but they said they did it.
No, I'm just saying. So that was where my fury was aroused. That look, why will the police do that? Because clearly, if you have not done that, then and you know we are lawyers. We act on information and belief.
Yeah, sure.
So my clients informed me they have not. So I believe them. Okay. Then I said, well, but in any case, Larry, what were they out to achieve? Even if the police had complied with Section 4, even if the police had, the demonstrators had not signified their willingness not to comply or their unwillingness to comply with the request, even if they had been served with an injunction, an application for a prohibition order, what were they seeking to apply, to achieve? Now, J.F. Kennedy in 1962 said some words, a sentence or a statement, made a statement that is poignant to what we are discussing. It says, those who make peaceful revolutions impossible will make violent revolutions inevitable. These people have set out to go embark on a peaceful demonstration. Young, idealistic people who think that the situation that confronts them now and Ghana as a whole does no point to a bright future. Larry, me and you are citizens of this country. We government is our agent, because all of us cannot be at the Jubilee House. So we say, well, because we want a democracy, and the vehicles for getting elected into an office is to join a political party and bring your manifesto. So parties do. Then we elect them. By electing them, we are consigning them into our agents. We are the principals. And tell me, what law prevents a principal from telling the agent that I feel dissatisfied with what you are doing? I don't like what you are doing. And if they go to that place and picket and draw attention to what they perceive as what in their view is gross mismanagement of the economy, what is in their view is a compromise of their future, what is in their view is an unjust situation that's been perpetuated on them, what is wrong with that? Assuming, but even before I come there, you know, two legal principles have obtained a sanctimonious status. One, consequent upon the Nuremberg trials, there's a legal principle that now says that no one has a duty to obey an unlawful order. No one. And that is so if an order is made which you have reasons to believe is unlawful, and you obey that order, you cannot now say that you cannot be held vicariously responsible for the order that was made. That was the foundation upon which all the officers who carried out Hitler's orders to exterminate the Jews were held responsible. They were not acting on their own. They were acting pursuant to orders. Those orders were from lawful authority. Hitler had won elections and was the lawful authority in Germany. But the court said,
you have 1 minute.
The Nuremberg trial established that no one has that duty. Two, Lord Denny has said it time and again. You only have a duty to obey the lawful orders of a court. But out of respect to the courts, when processes are filed, we say because the court is human, why do you want to conduct yourself in such a way as to outreach the outcome of the process? Why don't you give respect? It's definitely out of respect. There is no law. You bear the consequences of your decision to ignore the process, but you cannot be held for contempt if a process is filed and you go ahead. But you bear the consequences. There's no law.
But there are several authorities that, to the effect that when you proceed to do the very thing the court say don't do, or
the court, no, the person is asking the court to prohibit you from doing, not the court is saying don't do.
Yes, but
that's what I said. The lawful orders of a court, but the processes filed are not orders of a court.
Yes, but when you proceed,
yes, you do that to your own detriment.
Yes,
but you cannot be held for contempt.
Oh,
yes.
There have been several.
You have not acted contemptuous of the court. You have not only shown the level of respect.
Authorities.
My time is up now. I can ask you a few
questions.
You
asked me a few questions.
Yes. Where you actually ended. You are saying that when processes are proceeding in a court or pending in a court, and you have been duly served with a notice of an injunction application, and you elect not to wait until the determination, you are not liable for contempt.
What contempt?
You are saying
of the court.
You are saying our courts have all this while been committing people to contempt wrongly.
What contempt are you in? What contempt?
In that case, you don't have judicial precedent to support you that if I file an injunction application and I serve it on you, let's still go back to the land issue. You are about to build. I argue that you say you have bought the land. I say I have also bought the land. And we say, let's have a court to settle the matter. And we have been served with an injunction process so that you hold on and you continue to build. And I take you back to the court and cite you for contempt. You are saying that The court
I'll take
cannot
you
hold
back
you for
to
contempt.
for what contempt? I'm not contemptuous of court.
What
the
I mean
court
is
has
that
not
you
made
can't
an
find
order.
you can't find judicial authority that supports your case.
I'm saying that I mean, if you go to court for contempt, you will find.
No, the one saying you will not be held for contempt.
I'm saying that
cannot
I've
find-
just given you an authority that Lord Denny, in his writings, have indicated clearly that anybody.
Honorable.
What I'm saying is that.
Please, let me do the questioning.
What I'm saying is that Lord Denny has said clearly that the duty you have to the court is to obey the orders of a lawfully constituted court. It's clearly.
And our courts
And I'm
have
saying
said,
that-
our courts have said that if an injunction application is served on you and you proceed to do the thing you are being injuncted from doing, you have taken the job of the court. There's nothing for the court to adjudicate over again, correct?
The court,
Therefore,
there is.
you'll be punished for that.
There is. Your punishment is, taking the consequences of your action. For instance, if it is a land case, and then there's a suit, and then you continue to build, the court will order that you will not be given what we call, if you invest in the land, okay, because every court frowns upon unjust enrichment.
That's correct.
Good. So if you invest in the land and there's a dispute, and you show clearly where you got a title from, and you were under the belief that the document that you had gave you a right to that land, and you have made investment, the court in pursuing justice might say, well, you have invested in this land, you've cleared the land, you build a wall around the land, and so yes, but your title appears to be defective. You don't lose all. Do you still need the wall? So you will be compensated for whatever investment you have made. But if there was a process filed before you started building the wall, before you started clearing the land, you have taken the law into your own hands and you will bear the consequences. But you're not in contempt of court.
You're very familiar with this very important authority that the courts have affirmed, reaffirmed over and over again, 1971. It is good law and it remains the law we use in Ghana. What you say here this morning, that Lord Denning has said, will not change this law.
It will not change.
So as lawyer, you may be minded not to mislead a member of the public, that when injunction application is served on you, you can go ahead without waiting for it to be determined, and you won't suffer for it.
You won't suffer.
Okay.
That's why the electoral commission is not going to suffer for anything.
No. I think from where I sit,
you will suffer.
That is wrong law.
Okay.
Now, in Republic versus Moffat and others, Justice Saban said, and we keep this, it remains the law, it hasn't changed. Justice Saban said, I will be laying down a very dangerous precedent if I were to hold that a party, when served with application for an order of prohibition, that's injunction, from the High Court, can disregard or ignore the said application and treat the court with contempt, end quote. And this law, this is the law of Ghana. It hasn't changed.
No. So that is the law of Ghana.
Yes.
And Justice Saban drew his authority from where? Was it per incurium or he had authorities to support this position?
So
no, I'm just asking. Please, because we are lawyers.
No,
we are lawyers.
Wait.
You have just quoted.
I think that is inconsequential.
It's consequential.
You see,
my time to engage you is up. My time to engage you is up. But I think the principle. Let's hear others. I was going to ask you about. You said, I think I'll make a little exception. You said the police had not raised any objection to the routes they were going to take.
Yes. That's
when the police issued the second letter.
Yes.
In midnight of is it Thursday, refuting the claims that they had not served.
Yes.
They attached a letter from the Democracy Hub. Did you see that letter?
No, I've not seen.
In that letter, which is from the Democracy Hub, they were writing to the police, telling the police that you have said we cannot use the Jubilee House, blah, blah, blah. We disagree, so and so. So, in fact, there was a disagreement. and the letter is evidence that there was a disagreement.
So that's why I have said that even if there was disagreement, so I address your issues in compartments. Compliance with the Public Order Act. And even if there was non-compliance, is that the punishment under the law? And I quoted for you the statement by J.F. Kennedy. This was properly situated within the context of civil disobedience. If you bring it back, that look, there is, I mean, there is an extrajudicial something. I mean, the law says we shouldn't do it. You have said we shouldn't do it, but we'll do it. So you take the consequences, okay? But civil disobedience have been known to have been used for many. Our own independence, Sergeant Ajete and Co. The fact that they confronted Emery, who had prohibited their assembly, did not prevent them from meeting and did not prevent us from getting our independence.
Right.
Or the Kumu Press demonstration had been outlawed. They had said don't carry it out, but because they wanted it for a purpose. So you have to look at the justification is in the value that thing.
Thank you. I want us to be as brief as possible. And the next issue I want to raise with you, because our next guest, there's no lawyer among our next guests, I suppose. So I want you to help deal with this. The police said they sent the application, not the court order, the application to the lawyers for the Democracy Hub. They, in their letter, in their press release, they state that in their correspondence with the Democracy Hub, they indicated that Atukba and Associates are their lawyers. So if you want to do something, you can deal with them. So because of that, they filed the process and got the bailiff to go and serve it on their lawyers. Let's educate the public. Is that good service in law?
Under normal circumstances, because Democracy Hub is an organization, I mean, so it's not a natural person. So if they elect their lawyers, you serve the process on their lawyers, and that's good service. Now, but where individuals who can be identified are engaging or planning to engage in a demonstration, it is not Democracy Hub as that artificial person that is going on that demonstration. And so when individuals, and the law provides that the organizer of the demonstration is the person who signs, or are the persons who sign the notification request. Now, or the notification. And so I would have thought that when they sued the organizers, went to court for a prohibition order, they ought to have gone the extra mile to call the organizers or look for the organizers and serve them with the process, because they were going to march. They were going to be on the
So once again, for the purpose of education of our audiences, in law, as we know it by now by practice, if you and I have a matter, let's go back to the issue I use you and Gary as an example. Because you are fighting over the land, you make your lawyer write to Gary. Gary writes back to you. Gary at a point realized you are being incorrigible or something. You are not understanding. Obstinate. So he wants to go to court. Are you suggesting that if he files the originating process in court, he can serve it on your lawyers? Because by certain correspondence with your lawyers,
he has to serve it on me.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
There is no exception that an originating process should be served on a certain lawyer.
No. I'm saying that
the same rule applies here.
Yes.
The law in Order 12, rules, Order 7, Rule 12, is very clear. And it says that before a lawyer can take a process, which will become service, is that Rule 12.2, where a lawyer undertakes in writing to accept service of a writ on behalf of a defendant, the writ shall be deemed to have been duly served on that defendant when served on the lawyer.
Yeah.
And even in that, it is the lawyer who must write, and you don't write to the police, you write to the court and say, my client has waived his right to receive the process. He wants me, the lawyer, to receive it. Is that not correct?
That's what I'm saying. For me...
So the police service, speaking pure law, is non-service.
Yeah, you see, let's make two distinctions here.
That is the reason, for example, now, they may not be able to cite the organizers for contempt.
Even citing them for contempt, well, let's wait and see what happens.
Okay, let me go to my next guest. Now that we have managed to take out some of the legal matters, let's get some of our other guests to also share their views with us. And as I announced to you earlier, we have Daniel Yao-Domelevo also joining us. Thank you very much, sir. Let's have your views on what has happened with the police and the organized the demonstrators.
Thank you very much, Samson, and good morning to the panelists and all your viewers and listeners. Let me say, to begin with, in my view, one thing I would like to put across is that we have only one country called Ghana, and we must all do what is necessary to coexist peacefully. And more importantly, from my point of view, the law enforcement agencies must be seen as people who encourage the law or abide by the law, but not hide behind technicalities of the law, so to deny people their rights. When Gary Numaku was speaking, he talked about no complaint has been filed, so there is no violence, which means that if I slap him and he doesn't go to the police, there is no violence. I think we have all seen clips and video footages everywhere, on social media, everywhere, how people were being handled. So I plead with him. I don't know whether that's the position of the law. If the law says until you report an incident, there is no violence, then fine, correct me about that. But if that is not the position of the law, then the evidence, I believe, is there for all of us to see. Now, the point I would like to, one of the issues which came to my mind when I heard of the demonstration the first time was, why Jubilee House? Then I remember that even Occupy Ghana was born out of Occupy Flagstaff House. So some group of Ghanaians have ever been. So the questions which started running in my mind is that we have two types of Ghanaians. Some have the right to occupy Flagstaff House. Others don't have the right to occupy the same place, now called Jubilee House. Or are we saying that the current presidency is on a higher pedestal compared to the previous ones? So the previous ones, yes, people can occupy, but the current one cannot be occupied. It's just a rhetorical question anyway. But then, aside, let's grant with that admitting that the police had the legal right. Couldn't they have different? For instance, I saw yesterday when the demonstrators were approaching, I think 37, there was a human wall formed by the police, and they sat on the floor. So if the IG sent a team, then look, guys, we are already block them without being violent, as we saw on TV and on various social media. I think it will have been very nice. We need a police with human face. In fact, at times when the police are behaving, you wonder whether they were trained to keep peace or to preach peace. Because I don't see why someone who is not holding any tool, who is not being violent, you start hitting, kicking, pulling, tearing people's dress. And I'm like, to be honest with you, I'm highly disappointed in the police, because I saw this in one of the Eastern African countries for fear of diplomatic offense. I don't want to mention the name of the country. And I stated to my colleagues there that this cannot happen in Ghana. We have very civilized police in Ghana. And what I said cannot happen in Ghana is happening. So I would like to say that it is possible, from my point of view, that the police could have handled this issue in a different way. The questions I wanted to ask, fortunately, you have preempted it. I was going to say that even if they had the right so to stop them, shouldn't they have gone back to court for the court to authorize that arrest the leaders or arrest this and this? Is it because they are party to the issue, they can decide to move the next steps by themselves? And if Daniel does the same thing, like you are saying, the two of us, we have a dispute over a land, and I have gone to court, and you still go on the land. Can I just come there, hit you, and push you out of the land? Is that what is expected? So, being a law enforcement agency, they themselves should start carrying themselves in a way that the public will respect them, instead of creating the impression that they are just there to inflict pain on citizens. This is my short position on what
you said they should have gone to the court for the court to ask them to go and arrest. The education we need the public to know is that in the circumstances and by the processes that they initiated, the court will not ask for any arrest because it's not allowed. But you mentioned that Occupy Flagstaff House went to the Jubilee House, so why are these not allowed? The correct facts are that Occupy Flagstaff House breached the agreement with the police and were giving a small access to the Jubilee House. It's not because it was agreed at the time.
Yeah, so it's the same thing.
So you see, even when they made the breach, they were still giving it. They were tolerated. Couldn't the police also tolerate this that I'm making?
In Occupy Flagstaff House, there were arrests. And if you see some of the videos, people like Kofi Bentil, when people were being arrested, they jump into the vehicle of the police that was arresting some of the individuals. There was, I think, Kobiado and the rest of, and Kofi Bentil, they jumped onto it and said, arrest all of us together, and they went. So it is not the case that in Occupy Flagstaff House, there were not acts similar to what has happened today, except that the organizers, the demonstrators, defied them, and even where they were harassed and maltreated, they went through, and then eventually the Flagstaff House then agreed that the leaders should be allowed, four of the leaders should be allowed to come over to make the presentation. So they stopped them at Afrikiko.
Yes, I am not even saying that they should be allowed into the Flagstaff House.
Okay.
I am saying that people have gathered already,
okay,
and they were not violent. All that the police will have gone there is to go and stop them and say, look, we are already in court, so you can't proceed with this. We are not allowing you to go without arresting anybody or being violent. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, I was not in the country when Occupy Flagstaff happened, so I picked only a reportage from the media. So I may not have gotten everything correct. Okay. But my argument is, could the police not have handled it differently? That is all I'm saying.
All right.
Well, you have gone to file a process in court, and you think that by virtue of filing that, they should not go ahead. But the guys have gathered, and many of them will not even have heard what you are talking about. So you could go in there and say, look, guys, we are in court, so hold on, I will not allow you to proceed. That is all. That is what I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll go to my next guest. But as we dealt with the first issue and the questions that came up as to whether you can be cited for contempt and be punished or not, I need, and I have an obligation and a duty to educate you, the members of the public, that as very recent as in Supreme Court case, a number of them, including 2018, the Supreme Court held people for contempt because something was pending and they decided to disobey the injunction process. Those of you who want to read, you can look for Republic versus Bank of Ghana, ex parte Benjamin Dufour and others, some of them. So we have a duty to educate you accordingly. Now let's have our other guests, and then we will have, as we announced, Oliver Bakavomawo, who is on the list of our guests, also join us briefly on this. So Enam, from where you sit, how do you process what has gone on and is now appears to be going on smoothly?
Hello, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Samson. May I kindly request that you give me 3 minutes because I'm driving at the moment. So give me 3 minutes and I'll come back. Is that okay?
Thank you very much. We should be talking to Oliver then. Hello, Oliver.
Okay.
Hello, Oliver. Please unmute your mic.
Can you hear me?
Great, I can hear you. So let me try and clarify 2 small points before we hear you further. First of all, the police have shown an affidavit of service, which is the certificate that anybody should use to show the world that they actually have served a process of the court on a party. That process is dated yesterday. Yesterday the courts were working, so I suppose they got it yesterday from the registrar of the court. And it says that a certain John Ando served an application for injunction on your lawyers on the 19th of September.
Thank you for the opportunity to respond to this. You would note that on the 21st of August, 2023, Democracy Hub wrote to the police informing them of our intended demonstration. And the letter was signed by, as an Associate Program Officer, Benjamin Dapaah. Now myself, I provide legal support to Democracy Hub. And so I signed, Democracy Hub indicated my name and that this is the lawyer you can contact if you need to talk to us. The police then invited Benjamin and another person to meet with them. Where at the meeting, the police told them that they don't think that they can allow, that the higher authorities would allow them to proceed with using Jubilee House. And so for which reason, they won't make a choice as to where and which alternative route we should use. We can consider Independence Square. So we should go think about it and come back. I wasn't at that meeting. And so they called me to inform me. A subsequent letter was written then on the 4th of September, which was sent to the police on the same day. In that letter, you would notice that the organizers write Atugoba and Associates and put my email address, mouseinformalgh.com, and my phone number there on the letter. That if they wanted to talk to us, they can use that to reach us. Now, I am a lawyer with Atugoba and Associates, but I am also legally a director of Democracy Hub. For which reason, Atugoba and Associates has always made clear that because of conflict of interest, they cannot be involved in any court proceedings involving Face the Country or anything associated thereof. And so they have never in any of our processes been lawyers in that respect. My understanding subsequently from the lawyers is that when the bailiff, before that, the police had called Benjamin Dapaah, that they have a letter from the IGP for Democracy Hub. And so they want to bring the letter to him. And so he called that he was on his way to come and meet them for him to give the letter. He was out of Accra at the time. And so then he didn't hear subsequently from them. So the very next day when we heard that the police were saying that our lawyers had been served. And so we reached out to Atugoba and Associates to confirm whether or not any such letter had been received. And according to them, a bailiff came to the place to serve one Benjamin Dapaah in respect of a demonstration. And the secretary there said she had a list of cases that Atogba and Associates are involved in, but she doesn't know which one this pertains to, so she must call the lawyers to confirm whether or not this is a matter they are handling. And the lawyers made it clear that Atogba and Associates is not representing the people concerned, and so we cannot accept service on their behalf. The bailiff then, according to Atogba and Associates, called the registrar, and the registrar informed him that he should just leave the process that, and that at all costs they must deliver the letter to them today. So the bailiff then, according to Atogba and Associates, threw the process on the floor and left. Now the affidavit of service that you are talking about, if you look at it, which the copy has been shared with me, confirms that the secretary refused service. So the police, and that it is indicated on the affidavit of service that the secretary refused service and it was left there. This is, in fact, the facts that happened. So the police were at all times aware that Atogba and Associates made clear to them that they were not representing the persons and had no authority to receive service on their behalf. The police, in fact, have been informed by an organizer that they are willing to accept service. Now, mind you, there's a reason why we sent the notice 1 month clear. Because we are guided by practice of what the police have been doing. We wanted to use this as an opportunity to go to the courts and build up a legal case that protects the rights of demonstrators once and for all. So we gave enough time that the police then would be able to, we can have the back and forth in court, and the court would decide. Now, Samson, you know me, I'm a constitutional lawyer at heart. I've been involved in so many constitutional cases to enhance the extent of our democratic rights. You remember that the first time the country wanted to go on a protest, an injunction had been issued in perpetuity, an ex parte injunction, which we all said was wrong. And the Attorney General came out and said we should disregard it and still go and protest. And we refused and challenged this to the Supreme Court. At no point do we intend to use legal technicalities in order not to enhance our democracy. When we sent the notice 1 month clear, we had already formed a team of legal volunteers. For those who are aware, we're even on social media soliciting historians. We have dug up historical archives as far back as the colonial days to show that the state of government, people have always protested there at the Christianborg Castle and even the Jubilee House. So we're building up a caseload. We have even received a right to information request from the police, finally answered, which shows a list of over 100 police requests which have been refused in the past. So we wanted to build a case in the courts to show that even though the law says one thing, practice has made the law be used for another thing. And it is important that we reinterrogate the Public Order Act. This is what we wanted to do when we say we want to advance our democracy. So the practice where they hide at the last minute in order to rely on technicalities must stop. This is all we are saying.
Right.
Because if we set out that narrative clearly, sorry.
I needed to just address these small legal issues. I say small, they may be big, before we come in, because the legal issues appear to cloud the whole development. Now, on the affidavit of service, the one who did it, the court officer, actually states, as you said, that the secretary refused to accept it. But you know in law that when you refuse and the bailiff does what the bailiff did, dropped it at the place, that is also service in law, right?
Yes, and I would agree that that's also service.
Okay.
Now the question as to whether or not, oh sorry, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that the question that it is important that the lawyers clarify that they have no authority to receive service upon another. Service cannot just be given to any person and say the service has been complete. That's our understanding of the legal position.
Right. Now, the police are saying that you are being charged for unlawful assembly. You claim that they arrested more than 50. They say they took and detained only 49, and they have released all of those people on bail. In fact, initially the indication was that yesterday they were processing those people for court. Did anything happen like that yesterday?
No, we've all been formally charged. In fact, and let us be clear, the police did arrest more than 50. 51 people were in fact arrested. By their own admission, they let 2 people go. And that's one BBC journalist and I think a cameraman. That brought the number down to 49. So that information that we put that more than 50 were arrested is in fact correct. We were all charged with 2 offenses. One, failure to heed police request to not go ahead with a demonstration. I don't know which law they were quoting for that. And the second one was unlawful arrest. These were the offenses I was personally charged with and asked to respond to. All of us and everybody involved requested that we do so in the presence of our lawyers, and the police refused to grant us audience with lawyers at the time. Immediately, when I got there, when we were first all picked up, I identified myself to the police as a lawyer, and that I'm willing to sit in, because all of them were citing me as their lawyer, that I'm willing to sit in for them to go through the process. Because of that, they were angered by that. And so I was isolated and taken to the railway police station. If you look at the breakdown of everywhere everybody was, I was the only individual who was sent to railway police station. And everybody else was sent to different cells. So this was a deliberate attempt to isolate me from the group. And I was sent and taken there very early on. And everybody else was then dispersed into all the different police stations.
Okay. I'll ask you about an allegation you made, which the National Security Minister has issued a statement on. But first, the police insist that the Jubilee House is a security zone. They indicated that to you, and you wrote back disagreeing with them.
Yes.
Why?
Like I said, our objective has always been that we knew the police would go to court, so we wanted to meet them in court. Because we wanted it established, and we had pointed out clear cases in other democracies where people are able to demonstrate at the seat of government. This was the context of the historical work we did. Because we wanted it to be part of our democracy that people could be able to go to the seat of government to demonstrate. It was a key legal point we wanted our courts to confirm as a constitutional right. This is why we maintained and invited them to show us any law. So our idea always was preparing to be able to go through that process with them. That never happened, in fact. Because we think that the courts should be the ultimate arbiter of the limits of people's rights. And that is what we expected that would happen. Unfortunately, we didn't get the opportunity.
So have you checked to confirm that there's a law, there's an LI, or there is anything that can constitute a legal document designating the Jubilee House and its precincts as a security zone?
We have done extensive research. We have made several requests even to the police as well. We have not found any law in that regard, and we have not received any response from the police confirming this in fact.
All right. Now, you made the allegation that there were attempts to bribe you with $1 million and to offer you places in government so that you will stop your activism. The National Security Minister has said the public should treat that claim with the contempt it deserves and has dared you to publish the alleged video that you say you have of that a meeting that was held with you. What do you say?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to respond to this directly. Myself and my lawyers will be putting out a statement in much clearer detail. Now, I want to be clear. At no point have I said that I have a video of the interaction between myself and the Minister for National Security.
Sorry, you said a recording. A recording.
Yes. The Minister of National Security has issued a statement claiming that I was met with other Face the Country conveners and other stakeholders. I want to put it on record that the meeting I am talking about happened exclusively between myself and the Minister for National Security. That the offer was made to me. I will release an audio into the public domain, which would confirm that the minister invited me to a secret safe house location, that we should have an individual meeting between him and myself, at which meeting he made that offer to myself. No other Face the Country convener was involved in. Another secret meeting was held with myself and 2 lawyers representing Face the Country, including the Minister of Finance, which was held. We have a recording of the entirety of that meeting as well. But what I'm saying and want to be clear on, that a secret meeting was held between myself and the Minister for National Security at a safe house, and that he did request that I meet him, and I have a recording to confirm this. And it's at that meeting that he made the offer for $1 million to stop the activism. This was before, and I want to be clear, This was before even the very first Face the Country demonstration, not for Occupy Julobi House. I think there's a bit of confusion in the public as well. At the very beginning, the National Security Minister, had told me personally that they were worried about terrorism, and they are worried that my activism would mobilize young people that would jeopardize national security. And so that in order for me to walk away was offering, and he said that on behalf of government was prepared to offer me $1 million, and if it's an appointment I desire, they can arrange something in that effect.
The minister's ministry statement says, the National Security Ministry statement says that while it is acknowledged that the ministers for national security and finance and other relevant stakeholders in 2021 engaged the conveners of the Fix the Country movement to listen to their concerns, it must be stated emphatically that no offer of money or appointment was made to persuade the group to end its activism. The Bible says in the testimony or two or so, thing is confirmed. You mentioned a major general of the army who was part of this meeting. If that officer tells you that what you are claiming did not happen, what will you say?
Just to be clear, there's a major general of the armed forces who was part of the meeting with myself and 2 lawyers representing Face the Country. This was the second meeting which was held at the Safe House. The meeting that happened, as I'm talking about, where the offer was made between myself and the Minister for National Security. And I'll confirm that. Now, the meeting that the press release of the Ministry of National Security is talking about, I think was the very first meeting that was held between other conveners of Face the Country and ministers of cabinet. Because when the statement says other stakeholders, it suggests that there are multiple people there. Because there are 3, I'm referring, now let's be clear, there are 3 meetings I'm talking about now. There's the first meeting which was held between ministers, the various ministers of cabinet and Face the Country conveners. I was not part of that meeting. At that meeting, the offer that was made to the conveners there was that they should drop our demands to demonstrate. And the government would set up a committee that they would be part of in order to investigate grievances. And this was rejected at that meeting. The second meeting was between myself and the Minister for National Security, where the offer was made. The third meeting was between myself, the Minister for National Security, Minister for Finance, and 2 other lawyers in the Major General. You have
said that your lawyers are working on a statement. I think the proof is not in a statement. The proof is in what you have been dared to produce. You say there's a recording. You have just confirmed that.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that our lawyers will set out for clarity what formally respond to the statement, but the audio confirming what I am saying will come out. And again, I am clear that so far the minister has not admitted to having had a private meeting with me. And I am saying that the audio confirms this happened.
So you have the audio?
Yes.
And you will disclose it?
Yes.
When will you do that?
We're still in the process of a demonstration. I don't want this to distract attention from the demonstration which is happening today. But I assure you that early next week, the audio would go out. We've already confirmed with media journalists, yourself included, we're going to receive a copy of the audio.
All right. This morning, you don't look like you are at the demonstration ground yet.
Yes. I had to sit in and wait for this. So I'll be joining them soon.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I think that for me, what we are doing is that we're trying to build a democracy. And in the process of building a democracy, we all have to be reminded that we are guided by a constitutional document. That constitutional document reigns supreme. And it is important, and I want to make this clear, that in that process of building a democracy, if we continue to treat each other with respect and dignity, we can improve the lot of our citizens. This is what we are determined to be able to achieve for our people. And I hope that our authorities that listen to us are invested and interested in that happening. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Samson.
I'll come to the two of you, but our last guest, who needed a little time to pack. Go ahead.
So you have been talking about, you started the case of Republican Marfu, or where the Justice Urban stated the principle that a person can be, and you have also gone ahead to repeat that the Supreme Court has confirmed that in a recent case. I don't know whether your attention has been drawn to the case of Republican Sito ex-party Fojo.
I know Sito, I know Cooper Preko. They are completely different circumstances.
Listen.
And I'm only saying that let's make sure that our people have good education. That if an injunction process is pending before the court and it is on notice to you, if you take a step, it is your own risk you are taking.
Yes, that's what I said.
You can be punished for contempt for it. But you have not committed an offense.
Yes, correct. So the Supreme Court said in situ that there are the Supreme Court took opportunity to lay out the essential principles of
three of them.
Three.
Yes, that there must be an order or a judgment.
Yes.
You are saying in this case there's no order or judgment. I'm saying
that you must show that the contemnor had notice of the order or judgment.
Correct.
Three. Then it must have shown that he failed to comply with the order or judgment.
You are inviting the citizens to a chaotic situation where the judiciary cannot work.
Oh, no.
No. I mean, see, this Sito and Kupreko have a distinguishing feature.
That is?
From where there was a requirement for an order to be served on the chief who was being said to be held for contempt. That is different. Where the claim suggested not that the person was disobeying an injunction order, but I'm saying that the Supreme Court has held somebody in contempt.
But I'm saying that
for disobeying an injunction application pending before the court. And that's the law.
I'm just saying that the Supreme Court took opportunity to lay out the principles for an application for contempt.
And I'm saying that you need to do a differentiation in the circumstances, otherwise we'll mislead the public.
Oh, very well.
So once again, let me go to Enam, but let me repeat this and very calmly in this way. If there is an injunction application or a prohibition application against you from the court and it is served on you, the law I read to you, it is judicial decision, but it is law, says that it is wrong for you to have seen that someone is trying to stop you from doing something and you go ahead and do it. It's only advice. If you go ahead, you have not broken any law, you have not committed any offense, but you are liable to be cited for contempt and you may be punished because you have committed contempt. The thing that the court should have dealt with, you have gone ahead to deal with it. That's all I'm seeking to let you appreciate. Enam, thanks for getting back. Let's hear you. Too much of the law clouding this whole thing that is going on. Let's hear your analysis also.
Everybody, thank you for having me. And I'll begin by reading the first two stanzas or first three stanzas of the second verse of Ghana's national anthem. And it says, "Hail to thy name, O Ghana. To thee we make our solemn vow." And the emphasis is on our solemn vow. "Steadfast to build together a nation strong in unity." Now, why do I begin with this? I just really want to highlight the fact that building Ghana is not a person's responsibility. It is all our responsibility. And I go back to what, sorry, I might mispronounce your name, Vemaho. And he says that he's working to educate Ghanaians on rights. And in all the statements he has made, there is an emphasis on rights, but there is silence on responsibilities. And I think that a lot of the time in Ghana, when we are talking about democracy, we talk about the rights that we have in democracy, but we are silent on the responsibilities that we have in democracy. And I'll go back to the law. And yes, I'm not a lawyer, but then I found it very interesting that in the Public Order Act, Section 3, the Public Order Act 1994, which is Act 491, Section 3, it talks about the responsibility of organizers and other persons. And I'm sure that the organizer, being a lawyer, should have known what his responsibilities are. And if you don't mind, I probably would skip quickly to Section 3 of the responsibilities of organizers and other persons and use my layman's view. Now it reads, where at any special event, any damage is caused to any public property, the organizers or other persons found to have been responsible for the damage caused shall be liable to pay for the cost of the damage. That's 1. 2, any person taking part in a special event shall obey the directions of police officers, safeguarding the proper movements of other persons and vehicles, and generally maintain order. 3, any person taking part in a special event shall conduct himself, and I would add herself, to such a manner as to avoid causing obstruction of traffic, confusion, or disorder. And we all know that even God, who created the earth, established order as the first order before he could start or begin creation. And so the question is, why do we think that we can wantonly flout the law that governs all of us and yet seek to say that we are upholding this very law? We cannot exist in this confusion. You know, at the basis of all this fix the country demonstrations are 5 cardinal things that William Bedridge wrote about. And William Bedridge is a UK economist who created drafted the Welfare Act. And he said, our concerns as human beings are to deal with the giant evils. And what are the giant evils? And I read that out to all of us for our benefit. The giant evils are squalor, ignorance, want, idleness, and disease. Now, in all these protests that we protest, how does it directly address squalor? How does it directly address ignorance? How does it directly address want? How does it directly address idleness? And how does it direct disease? There is a huge and a larger problem of global externalities that affect our country. We don't talk about that. We don't mention that. And that is the perception index about Africa, or the perception premium that Africa pays for in debt. We're a country that is poor, and I think that we need to recognize this fact. We're a poor country. 1/3 of our expenditure is not covered by any income. So how do we balance all of this? How do we put this all together? By going on the streets and demonstrating, and by refusing to obey the law, and by creating a society that is fixed on chaos. How do we then address, the key issues of our society? We want a society built on discipline. We refer to countries like Singapore, the Garuandis, who refer to Rwanda at every slight moment. And they refer to it because of the law and order, or the discipline that is in that country. Now, if we seek to, be a people that even when we are knowledgeable, we are intelligent, and we should know what we ought to do, deliberately flout it, and then claim, perhaps using the very words that Vemaho said, in a statement that is attributable, I think, to the IGP and the current commission that is going on, saying that he is using PR, prying to the public and playing to the gallery. I question if this is the same tactic that is being employed by Fix the Country. Are they using PR to undermine the very society they want to build? Or are they doing it because they're really concerned about how our society is built? And so for me, the critical thing is, number one, what is the key question that we want to address? Can we use protest to address that key questions? Yes, it's a democratic right. But what of our democratic responsibilities? As citizens of Ghana, what are the responsibilities that we have together to fix this country? What are our behaviors? What are our values? Do we exhibit integrity? So here, there's a lot of claims being thrown out. And I question, are they all about integrity? If you're saying that, lots of people called you to tell you not to publish something, the question is, if you are a person that is value driven, would you listen to the people who are saying to you to cover up? Or will you say to them, yes, I hear what you're asking me to do, but it is a wrong thing you're asking me to do. And so I'm going to defy you and I'm going to publish what they said. So why is it taking 2 years, 3 years for him to publish this audio? I would have published it the very first day because then I believe in integrity. And I believe that we need to be a values-driven society. And I think that's where I would end it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And so I'll get just 2 minutes of your final comments, those of you here in the studio, and then we'll take a break and return to look at the Cecilia Dapaah matters. Yes, Gary?
I think I'll take it from where Enam left off, about the integrity of the so-called video, audio or whatever, which Mr. Bomawo claims to have on the National Security Minister. I mean, if you claim to have an audio about a conversation between the two of you, which was done alone, and for 2-3 years you have not heard anything. And now you are talking about having what? An audio that you are going to publish. Well, it's up to him anyway, but he's a lawyer and he's reminded about the Kubaji case. The Kubaji case made it very clear. Did he inform the minister that he was going to record him before recording him? If indeed it is true, that's another matter left to be.
The exceptions apply.
That's another matter.
Article 18.2, the exceptions apply.
Fine.
If it's about crime, if it's about what is stated in the law.
What he is saying is he talking about any crime committed by the minister?
Whose money was the minister, if it were true?
Samson.
Whose money was the minister? Whose $1 million was the minister going to give to them?
If you want to give credence to the allegations being put out there, I'm not going to comment about it, but for the fact that Edna made a very succinct, submission on the matter, but I will not give credence to it at all. Now, let me make this point that public interest, national security, is of paramount interest in this country. Let's not forget. You see, you go and assemble. The assembly could be unlawful assembly, and you are going to more or less also cause destruction to public services. Don't you think that it's proper and fair that we all learn to obey the laws of the land?
Cause destruction to public service.
If people assemble, for instance, at the Jubilee House, okay, in front of the Jubilee House, you are coming from your house, are they not going to disrupt public movement?
Doesn't the police have the capacity to ensure that there's otherwise the gathering is done there?
If you don't comply with the route, and the police don't come in there to make sure they guide the route, and you come and assemble, are you not going to disrupt public access to the road?
In this case, the main thing is that Jubilee House no go. That's the main issue.
But the bottom line that we must all understand is that let all of us, our actions and inactions, conform to rule of law. Very, very important. Nobody should assume that, well, because I'm person A or person B, what Mr. Domile was saying that certain persons have access to the Jubilee House, I don't have access to the Jubilee House. And that there are some who are more Ghanaian, others who are not Ghanaians. I don't think that kind of language is what we should even be allowing. The bottom line is that we are all Ghanaians, we are all under the Constitution. Let's not all learn to live and run our lives according to law.
As far as you are concerned, the police did absolutely nothing wrong.
I've never said that.
No, it's a question. It's a question.
I've never said it and said they did nothing wrong. I've never said that. Have I said that yet?
What do you think they did wrong?
Well, what they did wrong, in my view, probably was people who were seen on the what do you call it, the cameras being assaulted or whatever it is. That's what I saw. You see, but for me, it was absolutely wrong for them to have congregated themselves at the place, the Jubilee House, where they have been given an alternative route to go, and they said they will not go, and they want to be at the same place, and yet they defy the police. The police are to protect all of us.
So, to yesterday and today, the police is protecting them at a certain distance from the Jubilee House. Couldn't they have done this on the first day?
I believe that if they had agreed if they had agreed from day one, and there was no disagreement as to the route, probably that could have been done.
There is presently no
But you see,
agreement to the route.
subsequent to the arrest, okay, they had a meeting with the IGP, and then they all agreed to proceed the way they are proceeding. My question is, why did they defy the police in the first place? Samson, you see, today it is party A, tomorrow is party B. Let us not forget that one party cannot be in government forever and ever.
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
Honorable Minister Hussaini.
And talks about duties and rights. Our constitution is heavily influenced by the Hoffelian principles. If you look at the fundamental...
You're talking a lot of philosophy,
Yeah,
legal, jurisprudential
if you
stuff.
look at, clearly, if you look at the our rights, they've indicated in Chapter 5 that the rights must have duties. I mean, you have duties to perform. If you even look at the Public Order Act, there are duties imposed. And so no one is running away from the fact that people are talking about rights and there are other duties. This is our constitution, clearly is Hoffelian. And then talks about certain evils, the giant evils of the world or something like that. It talks about scholar, it talks about disease, it talks about, doesn't it see the correlation? That's how I related to democracy. Doesn't it see the correlation?
She doesn't.
Between the control or the demanding accountability in the use of our resources. In fact, if 30% of our resources are not covered by any revenue, and more go to waste, don't you see that there's a misalignment of the use of our resources?
They are talking about corruption, and it's on record that the country is unable to account for as much as $3 billion United States dollars every year.
And so, if you're going to address the giant evils of society, don't you think that this $3 billion will go a long way to addressing them? You must look outside the box. You must see the correlation. I mean, and nations are not built by one-sided views. It's a milieu, okay? And out of the milieu, you will distill the building blocks of the nation. There are always competing claims.
Do you see that the demonstrators did anyone wrong in this process?
Well, I think that when they were told not to go to the Jubilee House, they should not have forced their way to the Jubilee House. I think that's where, and clearly...
That's why I say this man is a very honest man.
No,
I have a question for him. Did they force their way to the Jubilee House?
So they were going to the Jubilee House. The police, I mean, because they indicated that they were going to the Jubilee House, that's how the police acted the way they acted. Now, there's always a compromise. So many years ago at Legon, when the Nooks wanted to demonstrate, and I was a team president, and the government did everything, and the role is to stop them from demonstrating. And Chambers was the deputy minister of education. And Tutobri Kwachi, we spoke. And who do you have was the general secretary of the NDC? So they called me in Legon. And I said, look, you must let the people demonstrate. But you must provide an avenue for the people to provide their petition. Also because they are demonstrating, don't interfere, let them walk to town. Okay? People walked from Legon. Ikwase people came to Legon. They walked from Legon to Parliament House. When they got there, they provided buses with water. And Amin, Anta and Co were selected to present the petition. That was when the Malaysian issue happened. And they wanted a repeat of Malaysia in Ghana.
Okay.
So when they presented the petition to the speaker, I think it was DF Anand, and there were buses. They came and drank the water. They were so tired. They entered the buses and went back home. There was no problem. Nobody stopped them. So there are always ways to, and I think that, yes, if I'm listening to Vamo today, I'm fairly grown, but I'm inspired. I'm actually inspired. And that's how I always relate to them. You see that you are trying to build a future that you want. And if you don't take those steps now for that future that you want, you might never get that future. Okay. That's what he's trying to do.
So I'm sure that those who are listening to you will now have a difficulty reconciling you saying that they committed no wrong, defying the service which I have established is a wrong service, and still you say that as far as you're concerned, they did a wrong by attempting to go to the Jubilee House.
But that wrong they did was communicating to them and indicating that they'll go to Jubilee House. They didn't go to Jubilee House. They didn't didn't go there.
Okay, thank you.
But because the police read their intention, and the police thought they were going to Jubilee House, but they could have reached a compromise. Yes, Vomowo and the leaders will allow you at a point to present your petition but your demonstration would have achieved the purpose anyway. Okay. To have drawn public opinion and public attention to what you are talking about.
All right.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they did no wrong. I mean, civil disobedience is always good.
Right. So going forward, people are going to make applications. They want to, not applications, sorry, are going to serve notices still saying they want to go to Jubilee House. Before 1994, it was permission. You needed permission from the police. Then MPP versus Inspector General of Police. MPP went to court. And then after that, in 1993, on the basis of that decision, we passed the Public Order Act. Yes. And we removed the permission and put there that notice, not permission.
Right.
Okay. People will still insist, we want to take the demonstration to Jubilee House, Bank of Ghana, whatever. Yes. Police will say, these are security installations, don't come.
So that is what Vomowo is saying. You see, you must look at the broader picture of what they are doing. He says, look, the law says 4 or 5 things, 6 things. Public defense, public order, public safety, public health, interference in the enjoyment of other people's rights, and compromising the delivery of essential services.
Potential of resorting into violence.
So 6. Now the police have always said, this place is a security area. Vomowo says, but that's nebulous. Okay? So let's dare them. So Vomowo is not just going to. He's setting up a case to determine, for the courts to determine which areas are security areas. And whether or not there should be an objective criteria to determine whether a place is a security area. So that's good.
Thank you. Enam, I have a minute or two for you. Let's hear what reaction you want to make. Hello, Enam.
Sorry. Hello. Sorry, I was on mute. So just going back, yes. Okay. So from just capturing what the former Minister Inusa had said, if the whole point of this is to be able to go to the Jubilee House to demonstrate, how does it address the 5 giant evils? Just going to Jubilee House to demonstrate. There's so many ways that you can demonstrate. There's so many ways that you can let your voice, your grievance be heard.
And demonstrations have won us independence.
Of course they have, and a lot of people's investments have won us independence. I think even more of that, the demonstrations have won us independence. All of this were funded by people. Okay, so
the current president, people say, built a career on demonstrations.
And also following the law by defending people in the courts. So it is a myriad of things. The question is, are we using a myriad of things to build our society, or are we just intent on just our way? And for me, that's why I find problematic. It's not just about your rights, it's also about your responsibilities. What responsibilities do we have as Ghanaians? Okay, the president can't solve all the problems that we have in our society. The police can't solve all the problems.
At least we must hold the president to solve the problems he promises to solve, correct?
Fantastic, we can and we must. But then I ask you, when I started this whole engagement with the preface of the 3 stanzas, okay, we are doing this together. How are we doing this together as Ghanaians? If we, the Ghanaians ourselves, are corrupting our society, if we Ghanaians are doing things that, undermine our society, and we do it deliberately, we deliberately undermine the society by not paying our taxes, by not paying loans that we take from the state. How do we expect the states to carry on?
I suppose you are not suggesting. Okay? I suppose you are not suggesting that mass protests, are not part of the tools to tackle some of these issues.
No, that's not what I've said. But what I'm saying is that there is an overemphasis on rights, and we only seem to exact these rights from protest. We are very silent on responsibilities. I've never heard, to be honest, civil society or anybody talk about the rights, the responsibilities of Ghanaians. Every time we talk, this is our rights, I'm claiming my rights, What about your responsibility? How about that? The societies that we look to deliver those societies that we aspire to.
I think civil society has been advocating in equal measure, not rights without responsibilities. I think that's unfair to civil society.
Maybe silent, Samson, that is silence to my ears. And so, I mean, even in Vamawa's, all his statements, every R word is a right. There is no R word that is a responsibility. And the responsibility
in the context of what they are doing, where do you blame them for an issue of responsibility? In the context of what they are doing.
Where I blame them for an issue of irresponsibility is deliberately flouting a law.
Which law?
The Public Order Act.
Which section?
1994.
Which section has been flouted?
Section 3 is very clear. I mean, the videos that
let's read with you. Section 3 says what? Section 3 says what? Which has been flouted?
Back to your other program, but here we are.
Yeah, but it's important since you are making those allegations. Yeah.
Section 3, subsection 3, it says any person taking part in a special event shall conduct himself in such a manner as to avoid causing obstruction of traffic, confusion, or disorder.
Yes, and how did they do this before they were arrested?
And they were sitting, I mean, the videos that I have seen, and I just saw it on your platform, they were sitting, blocking the traffic on 37, on that main highway. Now remember that there's 37 military hospital just around the corner, okay? How many people, if there were emergency services, would be able to access the hospital?
There is no demonstration that will not block a particular road. In Ghana, roads are blocked even for funerals. Sometimes they are blocked for naming ceremonies.
True, but they are not major highways. So show me one major highway that has been blocked for a naming ceremony or a funeral.
No,
now,
I said demonstrations. Demonstrations will always block some traffic.
Great, but you also refer to naming ceremonies, and I'm saying to you, which ones? Now, if you think about the 37 military hospital, it is a hospital. So you need to be very mindful and sensitive to the location in
I think her line, this thing is frozen. All right, so it's important to make that note that obviously they didn't block any road before they got arrested. And it is expected that if police are policing a demonstration, the reason police will police a demonstration is that they will make room to avoid that kind of obstruction, which is unnecessary. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's the most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. And I've been engaging for the first segment of the discussion, Inusa Fuseni, Gary Nimakomafo, Enam Akote, Daniel Yao Domelevo, and Oliver Bakavomawo. In the next segment on the Cecilia Dapaah versus the OSP matter, Mr. Daniel Yao Domelevo stays with us, Inusa Fuseni also stays with us, and Gary Nimakomafo also with us. Keep your comments and your views coming, and we'll share them with the rest of the world. And K. Amwa says, our leaders in Ghana should just develop this country and stop worrying about demonstrations and complaints. The only way to stop people from demonstrating is development, period. Ni Kote says, somebody should tell Enam that protests are meant to be disruptive. They are meant to attract attention and make people focus on grievances. What a strange set of arguments to make. Fat Joe Erich says, so Samson, the protesters are wrong or in contempt for going ahead with the protests. Are the police not also wrong for carrying out an action which is not yet determined by the court, preventing and arresting the protesters? we do choose and pick in Ghana. At least I wrote about 3 articles in the course of the period. You can go and read them, Samson's Take. Just look for them and read. I am Charlie Rain. Is high unemployment rate not a national security concern? All the bribery and corruption happening, not a national security concern? Why is it that we only talk about national security when it comes to protests? Harisu Pandit says, acts of defiance by public officers are either defended or criticized by politicians based on who it favors. Public officers feel they are to please the politician. Until we allow or strengthen institutions to work, politicians will relax and allow officers to do as they wish. Eliasu, sending from Tamale, says Oliver and his group must be watched closely. They clearly don't wish this country, beautiful country, well. He shows some bitterness and anguish about the leadership of this country. He fails to realize that it's God that chooses leaders. As a young person, he must be mindful of his action for the future generation. Musa Abattoir says, Samson, Enam has disappointed me because her argument of quote responsibility of the demonstrators isn't clouded with good judgment. When you questioned her about Akufo-Addo was once upon a time a spearhead of demo in the country, her response was that he was going to court and forgetting that lawyer Martin Pebu is one of the leaders of the Fix the Country, but also practicing lawyer who is always in the court defending the country. Well, Oliver has actually been defending the very poor who cannot afford the services of a lawyer. Muhammad Ibn Yakubu Ibn Chambers says, I am not against the legal proponents who contest the legality of the claim that the Jubilee House is a security installation. After all, the law provides that so, but the law provides so. We haven't seen the law, we are looking for it. But I am against the lack of knowledge relative to the logical implication of the actions of the protesters around the highest seat of the land. What if miscreants with diabolical agendas take advantage of the situation to cause mayhem? Law has limits within the realm of logic. Well, those who also ask you the question, what stops the police from doing it the way they have just done now? Yesterday, they barricaded them nicely, allowed traffic flow, and they are there peacefully. If they do that, what do they lose? Just 1 or 2 more, and then I will move on. Ken says, what was that social science lady talking about? Are some roads more important than others to be blocked? Those roads that serve the communities are equally important to inhabitants. Right, thanks for that. Al-Haj Suleiman says, Enam is not on top of the issues. If Oliver had planned to challenge the police in court to enhance civil liberties to demonstrate and not to remove fetters put in the place by the police under the guise of security zone, is that not a very important responsibility for our jurisprudence? She needs to calm down and read better to understand the ultimate objective of Oliver's activism. Okay, so this is the point where I apologize to the rest of you and your messages. And please don't attack her. That's her view. You can disagree, but don't, seek to, as it were, insult her about it. Now, let's get to our next matter where let me acknowledge those who pay for the show. The show is brought to you by the candid sponsorship of Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner. MTN, everywhere you go, MTN is there. Ashasi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 31 years. Duroplus, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duraplast goes, water definitely flows. DBS Industries, roofing, Papa Power Fee. My Way. Dial *165# on MTN to join My Way today. Syntex tanks, it's strong and it's tough. Flamingo paints, simply superior. Sneak Seed self-employed enrollment drive. It's your future, so own it. Best Brain publication, Tomorrow Education Today. Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to begin with Honorable Yusuf Hussaini. So the special prosecutor has gone to court back to try and freeze again and then confiscate the monies that it took from Cecilia Dapaah. Went to court, and because journalists are following this issue, they have gone to the court and procured the court documents. And the court documents are quite revealing. Unlike the last time when the special prosecutor went without giving evidence and indications of what he was dealing with, this time round, he's telling the court almost everything, showing bank accounts and claiming that some of the funds that he has cannot be traced to her source as what she earns, that she's engaged in some real estate business, and they single out an individual that she was selling a property to and decided to do it in the name of another person. But when it got to payment, then she disclosed her real name and the payment was made. So a host of other things. I don't know what you have read and what you have to say. Yes, I start with you. You want to start?
Yes.
Okay.
You have the permission to start, isn't it?
Oh yes, Gary.
Samson, with respect, I think that the things that we are reading about now, if it is correct, it's emanating from court processes filed before a judge.
That's right.
Yes. And it's a motion which is pending before the High Court. Mm-hmm. And if we are not careful, we may end up dealing with the matters before the court and prejudice the outcome of the matter. I'm saying so because from what I've read so far, I've not even seen a response from Honorable Cecilia.
She has.
Filed a response?
Yes, she's filed a public response. Not we haven't confirmed what she has filed in the court, but she has done a public response.
Yes. So far, I have not read any court response from her, and it's a motion which I believe is fixed for October. If we are not careful, and the commentary on it appears to suggest that we are dealing with matters put before the judge, we may even be ourselves in contact with the court. That's the way I'm seeing it.
All right. So make sure you are dealing with it without getting yourself into contempt.
Into the nitty-gritties of what it is. Yes.
Deal with it without getting yourself into contempt.
Yes. Thank you very much. And I hope that Honorable Two will also go into the matters filed before the judge.
Even the devil has no capacity to know what I'm going to say.
You are his lawyer?
Yes, I'm his lawyer. I'm his lawyer. You know, me and him, we always watch each other's back. So we don't veer into an arena where it's so uncharted.
Okay.
That what is before a judge, already we sit here, we discuss it, and then, you know. Yeah, so...
It's a matter of such significant public interest.
It is.
Involving a person who was paid by the public purse.
It is.
And whose accounts have become the matter for the court. And the special prosecutor has investigated and has suspicions that she may have been dealing with our money wrongfully.
Samson, it is.
We should have a right to talk about it.
Suspicions remain suspicions. Suspicions remain suspicions. So let us be very, very careful. That is all I'm trying to say.
So you discuss suspicion.
Yes. Suspicion.
So let's go
suspicions.
On. Yeah.
Yes. Samson, let us take it this way. You see, the SP has commenced investigations having reasonable ground to suspect that something appears tainted and therefore want the court to freeze it. Investigations are ongoing. I'm not sure that investigation has been completed. They are still ongoing. Now, under the scheme of affairs, the law allows him to come to court within 7 days to get confirmation of the seizure. Now, if he goes and the court says, yes, I agree with you, I'm going to freeze for you, you have 60 days within with preferred charges. If within 60 days don't prefer any charges, you have to release the property back to the owner. Okay? Now, if you prefer charges, then you can now come back to the court for another extension of the order that you receive for a 2-year period. Then you can now proceed to go and try the person in court or whatever it is. At the stage where we find ourselves now, where we are now, I think that we should allow the system to run the way it's been running. So far, there is nobody who has interfered in the investigation process of the special prosecutor. Not the executive, not anybody. He's doing his work. And you can see that he's doing his work. So I will just plead that I'm a bit concerned, Honorable.
Yes.
With sometimes the media, this one, they go to court. They went to the court registry, picking the information and throwing it out there to do more like a media trial. That is my concern. That is my concern. I'm only pleading that at this stage, let's hold our horses, let the process go through, let them go to court, whether they confirm or not confirm, let the person go through. If at the end of the day it turns out that there is something there worth charging, you go through the process. If at the end of the day there's nothing there worth charging, everything comes to a halt. But for me, to sit here and then we will now take the court documents filed, the process filed, and to deal with it one by one to make it appear as if they are conclusive facts or evidence, and that the woman is guilty as charged already, I think that will be doing her a great disservice.
The documents don't say so. So how can those who pick the documents say so?
The documents don't say what?
They don't say this is conclusive. How can those who pick the document say this is conclusive?
Well, you see, it is the way the reportage has been going and the
documents among others, the media report among others.
Yes.
It may be sensationalizing to say that a ghost is remitting to her account, but her brother who is dead, is still remitting in the account. Well, accounts can communicate. So you may discuss it that way.
That's why I say at this stage,
yes.
At this stage, Samson, at this stage, if she was your client, at this stage you realize that it's just too early in the day.
If I pick it
is too early in the day in the sense that
if I am hired,
doing a diligent
if I'm hired by a public officer in a matter such as this, I'll let them know that they cannot stop the public from discussing the issues.
Say it again. I didn't get the question.
If I'm hired by a public officer,
yes,
in a matter like this, I'll let them know that they cannot stop the public from discussing them.
Yeah, but not in a manner that if you are not careful, it may end up.
Okay, so let's say you are done. You are done. You have been careful about what you want to do.
And I know my client sitting here.
Leave him alone. Let him do what he wants to do.
My client sitting here will also make sure.
I'm not. First of all, let's all understand that this Cecilia Dapaah's matter is a matter of huge national interest. Not because she's Cecilia Dapaah. She got into the matter when she was a public officer.
The matter got her to resign.
The matter got her to resign. There appeared to be a violation of the public conduct of public officers in the Constitution, Article 284. You understand? And so clearly we will discuss it. Now, and we're following it because before MPP came into an office, they made solemn pledges to the people of Ghana. One such solemn pledge was the fact that their realization and acknowledgement that Ghana was unable to fight corruption because the Attorney General sits in cabinet, and that's what the manifesto of the MPP said, sits in cabinet with his colleague ministers. So we'll find it difficult to prosecute them when they are engaged in acts of corruption. So your manifesto said. And so they were proposing that to cure these development, or if you want lacuna, even though many people were talking about separating the Attorney General's office from the Minister of Justice, their suggestion, the MPP's suggestion, was to establish an office of the Special Prosecutor. Correct. And when they came, one of the first pieces of legislation they passed, apart from passing legislation to amend the Local Government Act to make the appointed local assemblymen go retire or sack them, one of the most important pieces of legislation they passed was the Public Officers Act, the Special Prosecutors Act. And I was a ranking member. And I traveled with the committee to many jurisdictions, Samson. So it's a difficult job. But you understand, like in Malaysia, they say that unless you are prepared for the difficult jobs, unless you are prepared as a political party, and the People's Party of Singapore, where what's the name of that man who was in Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, had come to office on the promise to fight corruption. In fact, when they were going to be sworn into office, they wore white. They were clean. So unless you are prepared to deal with your own appointees, you are not able to fight corruption. Because there's always a layer to enrich oneself with public funds. So when they appointed the public prosecutor, they gave the public prosecutor all powers. In fact, in Singapore, we were told that a minister of state was being investigated. He was so close to the Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew. He went to Lee Kuan Yew and said he should interfere. And Lee Kuan Yew asked, didn't we all sit down to agree that to fight corruption we needed a special prosecutor, and that when the special prosecutor is going after anybody, we don't have to shield that person? The minister went out and committed suicide. So you must be prepared to put ministers to shame. You must be prepared to put public officers to shame. That's why I have been very disappointed in Nana Akufo-Addo when he's turned himself into a clearing agent.
At what point do you do that shaming?
First of all, immediately a person, you have evidence. You see, Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, Article 58 says, executive authority is vested in the state. If you understand eminent domain, if you understand that, the president receives more information than we can imagine. And so, if you have information, you confront your appointees immediately, before even it becomes public, and fire them and lessen the political fallout. You don't wait and clear them. No,
she's under investigation.
That is so even the matter.
When do you do the shaming you are talking about?
I'm telling you that 2 years ago, Cecilia, Dapaah's case had already gone to court. Are we saying on this platform that the president did not know about it? Is that what we are trying to impute?
It's possible.
No, it cannot be possible. Then
Why can it not be possible?
It's not fit to be our president. And you are our appointee sending a matter to court.
Police was prosecuting the matter. It was not even the Attorney General that was handling it.
It's a security matter. If you are a leader of a political party,
police was prosecuting theft.
Samson, what theft of money from a public officer's home, Minister of State. You don't get the import, and you say the president would not have known about it.
I'm asking you questions, please. I'm not saying. Before you get the public to attack me. Already I've been battered left, right, and center. That when Dapaah came into office, I was doing program after program and praising him, and now see how he's doing. And I keep telling people, when he does right, we'll say it. When he does wrong, we'll say it. That doesn't mean that he cannot do his job.
So let me tell you something. When the prosecutor missed the first case, I was highly disappointed in him. I know him. He's sharp. He's brilliant. He was a lecturer at the University of Ghana. He was lecturing the one that went there for my master's, even though he came so many years after I had left Lagos. So I know him. And I know he's so sharp to have made a mistake twice. So what was he trying to prevent? So I didn't take kindly at all to his mistake. And that you have just revealed. How on earth did you expect a court to give you a freezing order or a confirmed seizure when you didn't provide the details in the account? Which court will give you a blank check? Who were you trying to protect? You needed to raise a problem, and now you
think he was trying to protect her?
I think he was trying to protect somebody. I think he was trying to do something to protect somebody.
I don't think so.
I don't say Cecilia Dapaah. I'm not saying Cecilia Dapaah, but I think that I think it's a feeling I have. I might be wrong.
Yeah, but it's a feeling.
It's a feeling.
You see,
and I'm thinking.
It's a feeling.
Gary, please let him feel.
Let him feel.
I will not let my client go down that path. It's a feeling.
No, you see, because you see, you couldn't make that. You had gone to court in an earlier case. You had been defeated. Repeating mistakes is not experience. Obi Mino of late said it in 1979. And if my friend Mr. Kokobako is listening, I told him today.
He's listening.
Repeating mistakes has never been considered as experience. So I didn't expect him to repeat the same mistake. And also the law is so clear.
He disagrees that he made a mistake. He only feels that he wants to do what the judges say want.
No. I think that
but by his law, he doesn't think.
First of all, you see, the law talks about seized property, not search of property. And the reckoning of time begins with the seizure of the property. So if you seize many properties at different times, you don't start reckoning time from the last property you seized. No, you don't do that. And aggregate the property seized. No, that's what he's sought to do. He sought to aggregate the properties.
But that's not the basis on which the judge dismissed the application.
No, that was the basis on which they objected to the application by the council. They said he had run out of time. Have you forgotten? That's what they said.
But that legal point was not taken.
Yeah, but clearly that's what.
Although it was ruled on.
So you see, for now, let me say that it's a huge public matter. We are all concerned. Since the discovery of the theft at Cecilia Dapaah's place, many things have come out. I think even the discovery itself occurred in circumstances that can best be described as happenstance. Also, until the house help was found in the room, which theft had been going on for a year or so. Cecilia Dapaah and the husband did not know that their property was being stolen. So how can that happen? Now, and again, the facts of the discovery of extra amounts of money in the house smacks of money laundering and bribery. And clearly, what has happened just yesterday in America vindicates that view. Bob Menendez stashed about $500,000 was found in his room, stashed in envelopes, some in his breast pockets and in closets. The same way the discovery was made in Cecilia Dapaah's place. Now, my good friend, I forgot Gary, he's my good friend.
In this case, the special prosecutor says they found various amounts stashed in 32 different envelopes discovered through arduous search by authorized officers.
We are going into the matter again.
Yes, so you see, I'm just trying. It's just a fact.
I know the limits of contempt.
No, it's not about contempt. Today, what we are reading is exactly the same that have been provided by the FBI in America. It's public. It's public. You see, public officer occupies a public office and does public service. So matters of this nature are in the public interest. That you see, governance is founded on trust. That these people will do good to the citizens of the country. That where the people have reasons to believe that those in public office are not working for their good but for their selfish ends, then they lose trust. And that's a threat to democracy. And that's why we must speak about it. Now, all over, I've heard people say that there's a public trial. No. The journalists have always said that this is what the special prosecutor is saying. This is what Cecilia Dapaah is saying. This is what the lawyers of Cecilia Dapaah is saying. This is what even the cousin of Cecilia Dapaah has said. This is what some other actors have said. So they put the information into the public domain and we make our conclusions. That is not contemptuous of court. So, one, I believe that the special prosecutor is aware of the fact that he will not be forgiven if he makes a third mistake. Two, that we want this matter investigated to the bottom. We don't want Nana Akufo-Addo to leave office with that dubious title of a clearing agent. And we want the president to stay off.
That's a title he has refuted. He has refuted in a very effective way. If you followed his address at the GBA conference.
Yes. Oh, you said that in South Africa. You repeated that statement is the same repeat.
Okay.
It's a repeat. It's a repeat. It's a standard statement.
All right. So let's go to the Auditor General, the former Auditor General of this republic, who knows how some of these enterprises are done. These suspicious things are done. The Occupy Ghana, for example, took 5 years of the Auditor General's report and did the analysis and came to the conclusion that monies stolen or, as it were, stolen or is it misused, amounted to, between the 5-year period, more than twice what we are at the IMF looking for. And this Auditor General, many believe, was hounded out because he was the man to stop some of these things. We're taking a quick break. When we return, we'll get his views. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's the most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And my guests, Inusa Fuseni and Gary Nimako-Mafo. Gary, the man that is urging a lot of caution in the discussion to avoid contempt. And I'm getting messages already asking me to ask Gary if this would have been his position if he were out of government and Cecilia Dapaah was an NDC minister. Would he say we should be careful about the discussion? Yes, Mr. Domelevo, what do you see, and how do you think that this matter should be handled? Are you impressed with how the OSP is going about it? Now the woman also, Madam Cecilia Dapaah also comes forward, makes denials, and then you have people who are claiming to be family or wife of their brother, and all of them also is on media, seeking to make things a lot murkier.
Yeah, thank you very much. I must say that for this one, I agree with Gary a lot of the things that he has said. Because from my point of view, the details are out too early. I wish these details would have come out when the prosecution has started. Now they are doing investigation. Even the investigation is not ended, and all this information is out. It's good it is out, but for us, you and I, we will exercise caution in order not to become in contempt of court, etc. Some people have made up their minds already that this is the situation, and I was thinking that in crafting this law, couldn't they have given the OSP that lean way of keeping those details to himself for the meantime, or if filed in court, should it not be confidential and not released to the public until the prosecution itself has started? Because he may come across other evidence which may even erase or mitigate the earlier one. Hence, his final position going to court may be different. So I was thinking if that could not be done. That said, like Inusa Fuseni, I was also a bit surprised or disappointed when I heard that he had exceeded the number of days. And I said, this man is a very intelligent man and very committed to his work. What happened? So is he playing trick on us? But then when he came back with all the guns blazing, I'm like, oh, okay. It seems there's some light at the end of the tunnel. My particular prayer to Ghanaians is that we should hold on a bit and allow the investigation to continue and let things unfold. because that is a very new office, which is not having institutional memory or precedence to follow. It was just the same as when I started disallowing and surcharge. We made a bit of mistake at times, and some of them we even thought it was not mistake, but that is what the court wanted. We disagree with the court, but well, their words are always final. But all that I was telling my colleagues was that, yes, let's do it. If we go and they say you didn't do this, next time let's make sure that thing has been done. Let's keep eliminating the excuses that the court has till the day they have no excuses to give any longer. So I think we should give them some briefing space. But that brings to mind, for me, the need for us to take seriously the assets and liabilities declaration by public office holders in the country. You and I, we agree that the law as it stands at the moment is a joke. It is not effective. It is not fit for purpose. If the declaration was properly done and verified, I think some of the claims date as far back as I think 2005 or 2003. Maybe that's when she was in the previous MPP administration. So we could have gone there to see whether those things were declared and properly verified and existed, and it will have helped the investigation and also published. So it will have been a public record. We would have all known that since those days she had these things, and there is nothing new to talk about it. But I also would like to suggest at this point in time, again, that we still need to improve upon the assets and liabilities declaration, which is now in the form of a draft a bill yet to go to Parliament. But we should introduce lifestyle audit as a preemptive measure to check or hold public officers accountable when we think their lifestyles are not in sync with their resources or income that are available to them. And in that case, we can be sure that we may be able to limit the level or the extent to which public funds can be abused by the public office holders. These are my brief comments. Thank you.
Right. The special prosecutor appears to hit a brick wall. He goes to court to get a freeze and to seize the money whilst he's doing his investigations. And from the statement he issued, you can tell that he feels really hurt. And some have even suggested that, well, this is Ghana. If he feels that he's not getting the needed support from state institutions, it's not by force for him to fight corruption. He should just give up rather than be attacked by people, particularly those in government, over this matter.
No, I think it is a wrong position to take. It is a constitutional imperative that government take steps to eradicate corrupt practices and abuse of office. And it is one of the directive principles of state policy in our constitution. So he comes in to play a role to ensure that if we can't even eradicate as required by the constitution, at least reduce it to the barest minimum. So if he has difficulty and they say he should just stop it, what happens if Samson comes and he also has difficulty? Then we just leave it like that? No. We must rather be resolved to help his office to work. So that, because he's fighting not for himself. The savings he's making for the country. It's not for him or his family. It is for the benefit of all of us. So we should rather be resolved in helping him to be successful.
Do you find any problem with journalists going to the court and getting the court documentation and serializing them? There's a suggestion that we should allow the thing to play out in court and conclude. Then we know what to do.
Yes, in fact, to be honest with you, I think at least if the investigation were to be completed before we publish so much of the details, it will help. Like I stated earlier on, in the course of audit, at times you tumble or you come across something and you realize this is terrible. But later on, in the course of responding to your observations and maybe other investigations, it goes to mitigate or resolve the issue. So that is why I'm saying that I wish the law distinguished between the information that can be availed when the person has been charged and you are prosecuting, as against when we are investigating. But then it is also good. It serves the public officers right that if we get you, we will not spare you. So they have to live above board.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I am not concluding on anything, because I know even when the prosecution has begun, the charges against her can be dismissed by the court, depending upon the defenses that she will raise.
Okay.
But some have concluded, and I belong to different social, social networks, international. And if you see the comments which are coming, some of them have concluded already.
Okay.
So I wish that we do the investigation quickly and bring the facts out, and whatever the situation is, we all get to know quickly.
Thank you very much. Our time is up.
Yes,
1 minute, perhaps.
Samson,
30 seconds.
When we're doing the Special Prosecutors Act, we ensured two things were in that act. One, remove as much as possible the discretion of the special prosecutor. We believe that discretion in a public officer is a route to corruption. Two, to try as much as possible to carry the people of Ghana along in corruption investigations.
Right.
So there are requirements for publication.
Right, that's true. Quarterly publications.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Discretion, the people abuse it too much in this country. If you read my articles, I speak about it. The police should not always go to court a day before a demonstration, especially when they bring you notice for the demonstration on the 4th of August, and then a day or two before the demonstration. It's abuse of discretion. You shouldn't do things that way. All right, so my guests on the show for today, and I believe that you have enjoyed them thoroughly. Gary Nimakumafo, lawyer, Director, Legal Affairs, New Patriotic Party. Inus Husseini, lawyer, former MP, Tamale Central, and former Minister, Roads and Highways. Daniel Yao Domolevo is former Auditor General. Earlier, we spoke to Oliver Bakavoma, a community mobilizer and Fix the Country. And Enam Akote, Sustainability, Climate and Social Innovation Advisor. Thank you also very much. My outfit, as always, is by Habil Scruter. You can contact them 0200 84 19 88. And for those of you who are still asking questions about the injunctions and matters of contempt, what should be, join me tomorrow on the law with my legal clinic. I'm hosting Bobby Banson, who is a lawyer, law lecturer, and also has written on the law in a book. Albert Jemfi, who is also a lawyer, law lecturer, and has written on these matters. They will be treating the question of injunctions, avoiding contempt of court, tomorrow 2 p.m. right here on this platform. Have a good afternoon.